सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांति। Srimad Bhagavad Gita is nothing but the philosophy of life and living. It teaches us the art of living. In Sanskrit, life is defined as Anubhava Dhara. Dhara means stream. Anubhava means experiences. Stream of experiences flowing is called life. From the time we are born till the time we die, from womb to tomb, all we are having is experiences after experiences. Series of such experiences flowing is life. So, how to face the challenges of life? That's what Bhagavad Gita talks about. A lot of us have this idea that Bhagavad Gita should be studied after 60, post-retirement. Right? And the funny part is, if you see the background, as you know, the Gita is given in Mahabharata when they are going to fight, the Kauravas and the Pandavas are going to fight, right? And Arjuna, after seeing his Guru Dronacharya, great grandfather Bhishma Pitamaha, his own relatives, he says, I don't want to fight, I don't want to kill these people, they are all good people. He wants to leave the battlefield. He doesn't want to face the challenges of life. And luckily he surrendered to Sri Krishna, and when Sri Krishna gave the knowledge, and then he understood and he fought the battle. That is a different thing. So what you need to notice here, a man who wanted to retire, right, was given this knowledge, because of which he faced the challenges. And that knowledge we want to study after retirement. So when I took to Bhagavad Gita, I was 21, and many of the students who study in the academy, they are 17, 18, 20, 21 like that. So what happens in the world is, oh, so soon you want to study at this young age, what about your career? And that too 3 years you will go and study full time. What will happen to you? Your career graph? You know, they are more concerned about all that. So, you should study these things after 60, post-retirement. How can you learn how to live after you lived your major part of your life? You understand? You got to learn, understand, master and live it. So that what happens is, you will achieve both peace and prosperity. So I just said, life is nothing but series of experiences. And one unit of life would be one experience. Right? Because life is sigma experiences. So one unit of life would be one experience. And what is an experience constituted of? You, the individual, and the world. When you contact the world, there is experience. So in other words, what is it? What is it? It is nothing but when you relate with the world. And that's what Bhagavad Gita talks about. How to relate. Understand? As a son or a daughter, how you should relate with your parents. As a father or mother, how you should relate with your children. As a citizen, how you should relate with the other citizens of this country, etc. etc. So Bhagavad Gita primarily talks about how to relate with people, how to relate with work, how to relate with situations, how to be peaceful and be progressive. That's what it talks about. So, today's topic is what? Relationship lessons from the Gita. Like I said yesterday when we discussed leadership lessons from the Gita, there are so many shlokas. Which one to take, which one to leave. You know, we just took few shlokas because this talk is going to be for an hour. And we are going to try and see how we can understand what Sri Krishna is trying to explain to us, so that we understand life and lead the life with both peace and prosperity. Because what happens is, one set of people in the world, they are very, very prosperous, and by their own admission, they are not that peaceful. Right? Another set of people, you'll see, they are very peaceful, like in villages, for example, but they are not that prosperous. How to combine the two? Because many times what happens is, when I go to work, and if I work hard, if I, especially in today's condition, I probably need to work 12 hours, 13 hours, 14 hours, right? So what happens is, when I work, definitely that will bring me stress, is what we think. If I work, I will be stressed, because work brings me stress, is what we think. Work can never give you stress. That's what Bhagavad Gita says. It is not the work that gives you stress. Then what gives you stress? It is the me and mine in the work that gives you stress. You understand? When you approach work, you take it as if you are doing, we discussed this in detail yesterday. So, when the I comes in, you get stressed. The worries of the past, anxieties of the future comes with the I, and then it gives you stress. So Sri Krishna teaches you how to relate with work, handling the ego, so that you can be prosperous as well as you can be peaceful. So now, when we talk about relationship, there are minimum 2 people involved. Right? Minimum 2 people. 2 people means what? 2 minds. Right? 2 people means 2 minds. Minimum 2 people. Correct? So, in fact, the term human species in Sanskrit is called as Manushya Jati. In Tamil we call as Manidan. Everywhere you see Manidan, Manushya, man, human, right? So it's coming from the root what? Man. Man means what? Think and function. A human being is also none other than animal plus the capacity to think. Right? Human being is also a kind of an animal. We would like to call ourselves as party animal. I am a party animal. Right? So we are animals plus the ability to think. If we lose the capacity to think, we are worse than animals. Because animal is protected by nature. They don't have choice of action. Isn't it? Animals don't have choice of action. A tiger cannot be a vegetarian. A cow cannot be a non-vegetarian. Without understanding this, some people mixed certain animal products in the cow fodder and they fed the cows because they thought by giving more protein, it will give more milk. So we can make more money. So when they gave that, cows developed certain disease. And you know what they named the disease as? Anybody? Mad cow. Is it mad cow or mad human? Even there our ego doesn't allow us to call it as mad human disease. Yes, cow only goes through the disease. But it is because of the madness of the human beings. What has cow got to do with it? Are you with me? So, animals don't have a choice of action. But human being is given a choice. You are given a choice to come to this class or not to come. Having come, you have a choice to listen or go off to sleep. Right? You have the choice. But once you choose an action, you will have to face the respective consequence. You have a choice to smoke or not to smoke. But if you choose to smoke, it has its own consequence. You cannot escape from the consequence. You understand? So therefore, you got to think and function. You got to think and relate. So therefore, the first principle in relationship is assessment. Assessment. Like for example, now I am giving this talk on relationship. I must assess my audience. Understand? The cross section of people who have come here, what is their age group? So what kind of examples can I give? You understand? I have to have an assessment. then only I can relate with them better. Are you with me? Yes. Right? If you are already exposed to Gita or not, etc. etc. Assessment is a very important factor. And as we discussed, when there are two people minimum relating with each other, two minds are involved. So then what is the mind made up of? Bhagavad Gita says every human mind is made up of three temperaments called as gunas. It calls it as sattva, rajas and tamas. Sattva means balanced, composed, serene, calm mindset. Understand? A temperament where your mind is calm, composed, serene, balanced. Rajas is a mind which is passionate, desirous, greedy, result oriented, active. You understand? That is Rajasic mind. And Tamasic mind is indolent, lazy, lethargic, heedless to consequence, postponing, procrastinating. All this will come under tamas. Right? So, what Bhagavad Gita says is, every human being is made up of sattva, rajas and tamas. Nobody is exempted. Every human being is made up of sattva, rajas and tamas. In fact, chapter 14 of Srimad Bhagavad Gita is called as Gunatraya Vibhaga Yoga. The yoga of distinctions of three gunas. That is the 14th chapter of the Gita. It talks about three gunas, the differences. And he says in verse number 5, chapter 14, as you can see on the board, Sattva, Rajas, Tamas, these gunas, qualities born of Prakriti, matter, bind the indestructible embodied, meaning the Atma, the self, to the body. O Mahabahu. Mahabahu means Arjuna's name, O mighty arm, Arjuna. Shri Krishna is talking here. So he says, every being is made up of Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. No one is exempted. Understand? In some, Sattva is more. In some, Rajas is more. In some, Tamas is more. This is what he says in the verse number 10 of chapter 14. Again, if you see, here he says, Sattva arises having predominated over Rajas, and Tamas over Bharata, and Rajas over Sattva and Tamas, even so Tamas over Sattva and Rajas. Meaning what he is trying to say is, everyone is a combination, permutation combination of Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. Nobody is exempted. Okay. In some, Sattva is more. In some, Rajas is more. In some, Tamas is more. Are you with me? Right? So, it's like, coffee. Every coffee is a mixture of what? Decoction, milk and sugar. If you go to Chennai, where I come from, decoction is more. You understand? Strong coffee. Everybody prefers strong coffee mostly there. So decoction is more, less of milk and decent amount of sugar. Maybe less. You go to Gujarat, what is more there? Sugar is more. Decoction is there, milk is there, but sugar is more. You come to Punjab here, what will happen? Milk is more. But coffee has all the three. Right? So, similarly, every one of us had Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. In some, Sattva is more. If Sattva is high, you are called as Sattvic. If Rajas is high, you are called Rajasic. If Tamas is high, you are called Tamasic. That's all. You understand? So, every human being, as we discussed yesterday, is a combination of what? Atma, the self, and the body, mind and intellect. And the mind is made up of three gunas. So, basically, every human being is what? Gunas plus the Atma. Or Atma plus the gunas. Right? The Atma is one and the same in every being. We will see that later on. Right? That is one and the same in all beings. But the gunas are different. Some are highly sattvic. You see, some people, unknown people, they come to help. They even get ready to sacrifice their life in certain contexts. Isn't it? For the good of all. Isn't it? And there are people who are extremely indifferent even to their own parents. Parents are suffering and they are extremely indifferent to their own parents. So there are different varieties of beings. Isn't it? Therefore, no being is same. In fact, animals have what is called as collective vasanas. All tigers, if you see, they'll be ferocious. All tigers will be ferocious. All cows will be mild, meek and mild. You can't say that with reference to human beings. All human beings will be same. Human beings are driven by individual nature, individual vasanas. You understand? Some people look like cow, but they will be like tiger. Right? Some people will look like tiger, but they are terrified inside. Some people are like snake. Some people are like creepers. But you cannot make out by looking at the person physically. Shakespeare says, one may smile and yet be a villain. That's why in most of the Bollywood movies, the villains laugh. Maybe, I don't know. You understand? So, one may smile and yet be a villain. So, we need to assess when we relate with people at work, at home. You got to have some basic amount of assessment about your spouse, about your children, about your neighborhood. You understand? About your friends. Shakespeare says, first, know the nature of your friends and then become close to them. Grapple them to your soul, he says. Outside at the books counter, we have select English poems, book by Swamiji. Swamiji has not written any of the poems. He selected few poems and he's given philosophical commentary to them. In that, he's given this portion from Hamlet. This is a portion from Hamlet by Shakespeare. So, there is a piece of advice Polonius is giving to his son Leatus. When Leatus is going to France for higher studies. In that, he says, you got to make sure that you select your friends carefully. Then, after that, he says you grapple them to your soul. But how are we making friends? You go to the train, 2 meals you share with each other, then you say fast friends. You kind of exchange horoscopes without understanding the nature. You understand? The first thing you ought to do is assess properly. If you don't assess, you are at fault. When you assess, it doesn't mean that you would have assessed correctly. You got to constantly assess. The other person is also changing. You are also changing. The world is in a dynamic flux of change. Everybody is changing. Right? So, when George Bernacha was once asked, who do you think is the most intelligent person you've met? He says, my tailor. Why? Because every time I go to him, he takes fresh measurement. Because I could have put on weight, I could have lost weight. Similarly, you got to have assessment. If you don't do that, you will be in trouble. So therefore, every human being has individual nature called vasanas in Sanskrit. Vasanas comes from the root vas. Vas means fragrance. Everybody has a specific fragrance. You understand? Somebody has the nature of, administrator. Somebody has the nature of teacher. Somebody has the nature of dancing, singing. Different nature, right? Variety is the spice of life. All of us have different natures. So you got to assess what is the nature. You understand? And then relate. So what Vedanta says is, as per your vasanas, your thoughts will be. As per your thoughts, your desires will be. As per your desires, your actions will be. And as per your vasanas, thoughts, desires and actions, you will select the environment. See, we have given advertisements that these classes are happening in this Rotary Club for 7 days. Whoever wants to come, they can come, admission free, etc., etc. But only people who had vasana to study these things are here. Isn't it? You have chosen, meaning what? Your vasanas have chosen to be here. You get the environment according to your vasanas. So in verse number 28, chapter 3, there's a very important shloka this is. He says, but he, O Mahabaho, O Arjuna, mighty arm, with true insight into the distinctions of gunas and actions, knowing that gunas abide in gunas, is not attached. So what he's saying is, as per your vasanas, you will choose you will have thoughts, desires and actions, and you will be choosing the environment. So what happens is, students will be flocking together with students. Isn't it? And professors will be flocking together with professors. So birds of the same feather will flock together. When you understand that, person is functioning like this because of the vasanas. But he or she essentially is Atma. So I should have the capacity to separate Atma from the gunas. So according to the gunas, I deal with the person. According to the gunas, I deal. But deep inside, I should have love for the person. You know, it is said, hate the sin, not the sinner. In fact, you should not address anybody as sinner. Why? Because everyone is essentially divinity. Isn't it? Every man, every woman is essentially divine. Because of the gunas, they are functioning like that. Understand? Therefore, you should not hate the person. You should, if at all, hate the quality, the particular nature. Somebody is procrastinating. That's why even in the work environment, in management, they say, you are supposed to criticize the work, not the worker. Just because they are working for you, you are the boss, doesn't mean you have the right to criticize the worker. You understand? You can criticize the work, not the worker. Please understand. So a person should have the ability to distinguish the gunas from the real self. Then according to the gunas you relate. See, when you go to the zoo, when you go to the animal park, it becomes very clear to you, isn't it? You know the nature of the tiger, you know the nature of deer. So what do? You love both. You love both the tiger and the deer. But you will not go closer to the tiger. You go closer to the deer. Why? Because you understand the nature. So according to the nature, you have to assess and function. But you should always have love. That is the second important aspect in relationship. Love. Now this word love is very often spoken, but nobody understands. Right? So what is love? Love is nothing but identification. When you understand that everyone is essentially Atma, in verse number 3 of chapter 13, Kshetra Kshetrajna Vibhaga Yoga. Kshetra means field, Kshetrajna means knower of the field. The distinction between the field and the knower of the field. Yoga of distinction between field and the knower of the field. That's what he's talking about. He says, Kshetrajnam chapimam vidhi sarva kshetreshu Bharata. Oh Bharata, oh Arjuna, as also know me as the Kshetrajna, the knower. In all kshetras, see, this body is a kshetra, this environment is a kshetra, this mind is a kshetra, the intellect is a kshetra, field. You understand? In the field, the fields may be different, but the kshetrajna is one, Atma. So when you see that one Atma, the common denominator, then you have love, you have identification. I am from South India, you are from North India, but instead of saying South India, North India, we say we are Indians, we are humans. When you get to the common denominator, then we have feeling of oneness, that's called love. First of all, what we need to understand is, the foundation of relationship should be love. The tool should be intellect, logic, assessment. Are you with me? If there is no love in relationship, it is no relationship whatsoever. First of all, what is love? How many of us understand what is love? So, Oliver Goldsmith says, and love is still an emptier sound, the modern fair one's jest. Everybody says, I love you, I love you, I love you, it's a gesture. No? So he says, and love is still an emptier sound, the modern fair one's jest. On earth, unknown, or only found to warm the turtle's nest. If you see the National Geographic or Animal Planet channels, you will understand what he's saying. A turtle, comes out of the ocean and lays the egg. It lays few eggs, and then what it does is, it digs a pit, then puts the egg into the pit, covers it up and goes into the ocean. Because the eggs need the warmth for it to hatch. So it is actually loving, but out of love, it gives space. But what we do is, we become more attached, possessive. See, you've got to understand the difference between love and attachment. But unfortunately in the world today, attachment is taken to be love. This is another verse is there in Bhagavad Gita, where he says, if you have tamasic intellect, tamasic buddhi, you will understand everything ulta. You will understand what is good for you as bad for you. Right? Waking up early in the morning, good for you. Going to bed early, good for you. But you will understand ulta. Arey yaar, you should go to bed not at night, morning, 2 o'clock. Understand? You should not wake up in the morning, you should wake up afternoon. What kind of life you are leading? So tamasic intellect understands everything ulta, perverted. So it understands attachment as love, love as attachment. What is the difference between love and attachment? I just told you. Love is nothing but feeling of oneness, identification. Right? It's a feeling. But when you are attached to someone, for example, your child. Why are you attached to the child? Because the child is yours. The my in the child. Understand? My child. Are you with me? The I. Somewhere, the other person with whom I claim to be in love, which is actually attachment, they are catering to me either directly or indirectly. Isn't it? As the moment the catering stops, I don't love them anymore. Like they have this honor killing, no? Honor killing. They love their daughter so much. In the house, the father only does what the daughter says. Until the time when the daughter says, I'm in love with somebody who is of some other community or whatever it may be. Now the father is not able to accept that. None of the family members are able to accept that. So they are saying, no. Then the daughter, somehow marries the boy. These fellows kill them. Isn't it? Don't we hear such things happening today in this country? Yes or no? Yes. So what is that? Is that love? How can you kill someone whom you love? For these reasons. Are you with me? Yeah. So it's nothing but attachment. Love is universal, all inclusive. Attachment is exclusive, preferential. And love is unconditional. Attachment is conditional. As long as there is a catering, I love you. The moment the catering stops, I hate you. How can you hate somebody whom you love? Not possible. That means you actually did not love them. You loved yourself. That is called attachment. So therefore, the formula for attachment is love plus selfishness. When your feeling is polluted by selfishness, it's called attachment. You understand? So when you remove the selfishness from attachment, it is love. So love is not attachment. Please understand this. A lot of us think attachment as love. This is the problem. There is a very interesting quotation given by Swami Ramananda. He says, attach, you lose, detach, you gain. When you become too much attached with your children, you lose them. You understand? Anything for the matter you lose. If you are terribly attached, you lose them. See, as a parent, you are attached to a child. You are too possessive and you are too attached to a child. Which means, it's like, all the time, you are tied, when you go back from this class, let's say this chair is tied to your legs. And the table is also tied. What will you do? After some time, what is this table is sticking and coming with me? You would like to throw it, isn't it? This is what you are doing. You are all the time sitting on your children's back. They can't carry it for long. They say, get off, man. Get off. You understand? So when you are attached, you lose. When you are detached, you gain. Detachment is love. True detachment is love. Detachment means knowledge. When you gain the knowledge of the higher, you drop the lower. In fact, the lower drops automatically. See, when you are climbing a ladder, when your right foot is firmly established on the upper rung, then you can remove the left foot. Isn't it? So, similarly, another example we give is of a flower. When flower matures and becomes a fruit, the petals automatically drop. But if you pluck the petals, will it become a fruit? When it becomes a fruit, the petals drop. So when you have love, you see from the child's point of view what is good for the child. Not what is pleasing to the child, so that the child can be all the time giving you that emotion. For that you need strength. You understand? But the problem is you yourself are functioning out of ego. You have the selfishness. So you have attachment. As a result of an attachment, you destroy your child. This is what happens. And they leave you. When you pamper your child, or you become too possessive and become too compulsive and strict on your child beyond a point, because everything you say only they have to. When you become possessive, there's a very interesting example Swamiji gives in the book Vedanta Treatise. In fact, I got inspired by reading that book Vedanta Treatise. That is the main book of all the books that Swamiji has written. What is this book Vedanta Treatise? It is nothing but a composition of the subject Vedanta. See, the subject Vedanta is there in Sanskrit in different texts. In the Upanishads, in the Bhagavad Gita, in the Brahma Sutra, in the Atma Bodha, Vachagovindam, etc., etc. All these texts and the Western philosophers' texts and Swami Ramtirtha's complete volumes, etc., etc. All these things Swamiji has digested and he's put it in following the fundamental principle of education, which is to move from the known to the unknown. So he's given that in 3 parts: Part A, Part B, Part C. Part A is introduction to Vedanta. Part B is practical Vedanta, how to apply that in your day-to-day living. And Part C is deep essence of Vedanta, deeper philosophy. Beautifully presents that. And in that book, he talks about all this. How when you are detached, you gain. When you are attached, you lose. He gives examples after examples. He emphasizes on that. He has written another book called Holocaust of Attachment. You know what is Holocaust? What is Holocaust? The mass killing which Hitler did, Hitler killed the Jews. Around 6 lakhs Jews he killed, putting them all in gas chamber. It's the Holocaust. Mass killing. So Swamiji says, attachment is the deadly virus. It is worse than AIDS, he says. It is a Holocaust, and we are not at all aware. We are all worried about AIDS, corona, all that. But attachment is the deadliest virus. And do you know what is the expansion of the term virus? In computer language, there is virus. You talk about virus, no? What is the expansion of the term virus? Anybody? Vital information resource under siege. Vital information resource under siege. Means what? You have all this knowledge today, now. But when the virus takes over, you lose everything. Buddhi nasha pranashya. And buddhi is gone. All gone. When the virus of attachment comes, you lose everything. Beta. You understand? We talk like that. Instead of saying what is good for the child. So when you get attached and you possess the child, it's like saying, I have put a rope around the buffalo's neck. This is the example Swamiji gives in the book, Vedanta Treatise. You possess the child, you possess the buffalo, you see. Because I have tied the buffalo and I am holding the rope. You go and have a conversation with the buffalo. Buffalo is saying the same thing. I possess this fellow. He cannot go anywhere. You understand? So when you possess, you become possessed. So you got to understand what is love. When you have love, which is true detachment, you understand? You will bring up the children properly. Otherwise you will destroy them. If you pamper them, they will become a what? Either a rebel or a vegetable. If you are possessed, they will either become a rebel or a vegetable. This is what is happening. So you got to understand love. Another problem is, what is love, what is lust, we need to understand. See, when you are in love, even with an object, you escalate that object to the level of a being. Isn't it? Arjuna's bow, he gave a name, Gandiva. Isn't it? You would have named your houses made of bricks, Vrindavan, Crescent, etc. Isn't it? It's just a property, but you have given it a name. Why? Because you love it. When you love even an object, you escalate it to the level of a being. But when you are in lust, you reduce even a being to an object. Chicken, very tasty. Nice object. You look at A being also as an object. So when you relate with your spouse or children as if they are object, then you are using them. This is the problem. Today what is happening is, we are using the people, loving the gadgets. 24/7 we are with the gadgets. What we are supposed to do is, we are supposed to love the people, use the gadgets. Please understand the difference between love and lust. Then relate properly accordingly. And then another important aspect of relationship is giving. Giving is a very important aspect of relationship. You should get into relationship to give. Are you with me? When you are a bachelor, you are not sharing with anybody. And then when you get a spouse, now there is a sharing. Then children, there is sharing. By giving, you grow. Please understand. You grow by giving. You are known by the object that you give. You are rich by what you give. And Swami Ramtita beautifully explains this. But an object is known by the color it reflects. Isn't it? If it's blue color, if an object is blue in color, what it means is, it is reflected all the other colors and it is reflected blue and it is absorbed all the colors. So it's known by the color that it is given. When it is absorbing all the colors, it is black in color. When it is reflected everything, it is white in color. One of the reasons why we wear white color or somewhere close to white is to understand that life is to give, not to take. That is a beautiful quotation given by Victor Hugo. Life is to give, not to take. And there is a verse in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 17, verse number 20. He says, gift given as obligatory to a recipient who does more service and in place and in time. That gift is considered sattvika. Sattvic means the true giving. See, in other words, somebody who has not done anything to you. You understand? Who has not done anything to you. Who does no service means without expecting anything in return. You see, as a wife, as children, as friends, as neighborhood, what I can give to them. See, end of the day, relationship is nothing but arithmetics. Arithmetics in the sense, multiplication and division. We have to multiply the happiness and divide the sorrow. Understand? To our spouses, to our children, to our friends, what we should do? We should multiply their joy. Right? By multiplying their joy, our joy increases. And when they are in trouble, you say, hey, what is the problem? I am there. You can share your trouble with me. Don't get stressed. We are there. You are dividing the sorrow. This is a relationship. This is giving. You understand? Unfortunately, today, that is not the way we relate. Relationship is all what? Rights. Isn't it? Vedanta says the next point is duties, not rights. Your relationship should be based on duties and not on rights. This is the problem. Today, we get into contract before marriage. This side of the cupboard is his. That side of the cupboard is her. Okay for, what do you call the transactional purposes, it's convenient, okay. If we know this side is mine, that side is yours, it's okay. But then you don't get it, it's not right. You don't have a right, you have duty, responsibility. By fulfilling your duties and responsibilities, you get right. Please understand. You don't want to claim that right. But rights come. How? How do you get the right? By doing your duty and responsibility. Isn't it? So, relationship should be based on duties and not on rights. The problem is, today everything is on rights. This is the problem. So, verse number 23, chapter 18, he talks about sattvic action. What is the sattvic way of functioning? He says an obligatory action executed without attachment. With no attachment whatsoever. Free from like or dislike. I am not doing because I like it. I am not avoiding it because I don't like it. I have to do this, I do this. I have an obligation to my friends, I have to do this. See, I have come here. Today I say, today I don't like to go. Let somebody else talk. I can't do that. There is a responsibility. We have committed. Unless something goes wrong, I cannot even come here. That's a different matter. Right? But you have to fulfill your duty. Zero expectations whatsoever. An obligatory action executed without attachment, free from like or dislike, and not desirous of fruit is called sattvika. Just do your duty. See, in fact, in Tamil we have another wonderful scripture called Tirukkural. Our Prime Minister Modi ji, he keeps quoting that nowadays. Tirukkural. In that, very interesting, he says, parents are indebted to children. You have always heard, children are indebted to parents. Right? He says, parents are indebted to children. How? One thing I would like to communicate here is, for example, you inherited Chandigarh city before your children. Okay? So you have to hand over the Chandigarh city to them as you inherited or in a better condition. You are indebted to them. But is that how we look at it? We give a more polluted city to them. Yes or no? Yes. So he says, you have an obligation to your children. Your children have no obligation to you. But if your child is also attending this class, they will definitely take care of you, don't worry. You understand? But you understand that you have an obligation. You brought them to this world. You make them strong. Don't expect anything in return for that. They will do it. You understand? How will they do it? When will they do it? When you really love them and do your duty. Not otherwise. Another important aspect in relationship is regulation. Regulation in relationship. The problem is in life, we become too close or too far away. I spoke about that Polonius' advice in the Select English Poems book, So there he says, be thou familiar, but by no means vulgar, he says. Be thou familiar, but by no means vulgar. Not too close. You should be familiar, but not too close, not too far away. And there's a very, very interesting quotation by Khalil Gibran. It says, marriage is like a temple, resting on two pillars. If they come too close to each other, the temple will collapse. It should not come too close also, it should not become too far away also. Understand? It should be proper distance, regulation. It's a very, very important aspect. Because what happens is, initially you become too close, when you get married, or even when you become friends, initially you become too close. Because it's giving you pleasure. It's giving you pleasure. We always go behind what is giving us pleasure immediately. In the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 18, verse 37 and 38, you can see it on the board. 37 says, what is like poison in the beginning and nectar in the end, that happiness is declared satvika, a blessing born from clarity of one's intellect. And then the next shloka, 38, he says the happiness arising from contact of sense organ with object, which in the beginning is like nectar and in the end like poison, that is considered rajasika. What he's saying is, the true happiness is poisonous in the beginning, but nectar in the end. False happiness is nectar in the beginning, poisonous in the end. So when you become too close, pampering each other, lovey-dovey stuff, sugar push, etc., honey, all that, what happens is you are too close. When you become too close, slowly because of indulgence, you start losing the joy. Understand? But if there is regulation, then there is joy going on and on, even when you celebrate 25th year, 50th year of wedding anniversary. Because you have founded your relationship on all those principles that we discussed. So there has to be proper regulation. That is another important aspect. And the last but not the least, in any relationship, whether as a boss and subordinate, or husband and wife, or parents, children, whatever relationship it is, you have to set an example. The same thing we discussed yesterday also. This Sri Krishna says in the 3rd chapter, verse 21, Yadyat acharati shreshtaha tattat eva itara janaha sayat pramanam kurute lokas tad anuvartate. Whatsoever the superior person does, that alone the other people do. Whatever standard he sets, that the world follows. What you do, your children will do, not what you say. You understand? This is a very important aspect we need to understand. See, when a child is born, the physical brain itself is not fully grown. It takes about 5 years for the physical brain to grow. So the first few years of the child's growth, only few things are very important for the child. What is it? Nutritious food, which is especially mother's milk in the beginning, nutritious food, and then the child should play and play and play. Lot of play. And then good amount of sleep. Nothing more, isn't it? The child should sleep a lot and play nutritious food. Then around 5 onwards, slowly the mind starts developing. The neuronal connection starts happening. Isn't it? The intellect is still not developed. Are you with me? The mind is developing before the intellect. So therefore, at that time, you should live the higher values which seeing the child develops those values. So there are 4 things I am saying here, which you can see on the screen. First is values. What values as father or mother or leader or grandfather, grandmother, you are living. You understand? It's very important. And then habits. Habits at home. Suppose if you create the habit of going to bed early, waking up early, the child also develops that habit. Habit means what? How did any habit start? It started with eating. Isn't it? Then it becomes bit. Then bit becomes a bit. A bit becomes habit. Constantly, continuously, when you keep on doing something, it becomes a habit. That's why they say, to form a new habit, you have to minimum do it for 21 days or 40 days. That's how the book, Monk Who Sold His Ferrari, became very popular. Isn't it? You got to do it again and again and again, repeatedly. You have developed certain habits because you have done it repeatedly. Yesterday, because of some reasons, of course rain was also there, whatever it is, people came a little late, so we started at 6:45. Then yesterday I requested, tomorrow please come on time. All of you came on time. You understand? Now, it is not difficult. If we develop that habit, then our train also will come on time. Flights will be on time. We have to develop that habit. You understand? Again and again. So when you see the parents doing it from childhood, you develop that habit. So values, habits. And then when the child comes to 10, 11, 12, slowly the children start asking questions. Why is it like that? Why not like this? You get irritated because you don't know the answer. You understand? So what do you do? You don't know why you are born in our house. We did not ask these questions. Why are you asking questions? You are not supposed to do that. You are supposed to encourage to ask questions. You understand? Tadvidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya. Prashna. There is an Upanishad called Prashnopanishad. In the academy, the 3 years course that Swamiji conducts, in which we all studied, we have a lot of question answer sessions. Small group discussion, big group discussion, and question answer session with Swamiji, etc. Constantly questioning. You got to question. You should not take anything for granted. You should not accept anything blindly. You should question and then accept. You understand? So you should encourage the children to develop the ability to question, not accept anything for granted. This is the problem. Today we need to question. Why? If you question only, things will change. Isn't it? See, because he questioned when the apple, they say, this is the story, I don't know. The apple fell down, he saw, Newton saw. Why is it coming down? Why is it not going up? He questioned it. Isn't it? And because of that, he discovered law of gravity. If he had not questioned, he would have not discovered law of gravity. Unless you question, you can't change anything. Understand? Freedom fighters like Bhagat Singh from this soil, Punjab, he questioned. Because of that, we have freedom today. You got to question. Without questioning, you can't grow. It's not possible. So therefore, you got to encourage the spirit of questioning in your children. You understand? Because only through questioning their intellect becomes strong. See, intellect is there in every human being as a potential. But we got to strengthen it. If you don't strengthen it, mind will be strong. You will go by likes and dislikes. And if you go by likes and dislikes, you will destroy your life. Nothing wrong with likes and dislikes per se. But your intellect should control your likes and dislikes, not the other way around. For that, you need to strengthen your intellect by questioning. And you got to develop that from childhood. You know, the term educate means to eke out, to draw out, not stuff. You know, you got to kindle the curiosity of the child. Are you with me? You got to kindle the curiosity of the child. And when the child starts questioning, then the child learns. You know, we have our weekly classes in Chandigarh by my colleague Rupal Gupta, Rupal ji. She is doing this class very close by here. There is a school called Vedanta. You know, it's the same campus as a new public school, is it? Very close, just 2 buildings away. Every week, Sunday, she is doing the class. So when we first came to talk to them for the venue, you know, we needed venue to do the class. So we almost 2 months she's been teaching now. So I also came, we had a chat with the Poveda group people. They were kind enough to give the place for us. And what we found is, they are doing this. That's why I'm quoting them. They are not teaching like any other schools. You know, they kindle the curiosity. I am not promoting Poveda school, please. You know, I am thankful to them for giving us the space. That's all. But I'm not, but I like the concept, what they spoke about, you know. So they encourage the children to question. And then they teach. Then that learning will be permanent. This is what we are supposed to do. We are not supposed to stuff information into the children. We are developing the intelligence, not the intellect. You understand? See, there are doctors who are heart specialists but chain smokers. Do you have to tell them the ill effects of smoking? Are they not intelligent? They can tell you how the cigarette smoking is injurious to health. But yet they are not able to bring themselves to control the habit of smoking. So what it means is, the intellect is not strong, intelligence is there. So what is happening is, we are only developing the intelligence, we are not developing the intellect. So when you, as a father, set example by questioning, as a mother by questioning, and create the environment in the family, allow them to question. You know, if you know the answer, say. Otherwise, Google Baba. Understand? Or many other sources are there. You find the answer, or you tell the child, if you find the answer, please share it with me. If I come across, I will share it with you. What is wrong? It is not that everything I should know, just because I am a father or mother. Understand? Another important aspect that we need to inculcate in our children is self-sufficiency. Simple things like, for example, washing their own plates after meals. You know, when they get up, they have to make their own bed. How will they do it? They'll see you doing, they'll do it. You know, one of the things we do is, we don't want to involve our children in work. Oh, poor children, let them be. We will do work. Supposing you have 2 kids, let's say. The elder one, you make the child do their work themselves. The younger one, you pamper a lot. Right? When they grow up, invariably you will see, there are exceptions, but invariably you will see the elder one becomes stronger, and in fact the elder one will be following all the principles we discussed. The younger one will be demanding more and more and more, not really doing the duty. So one of the most important obligations as parents in relationship, or elders in relationship, in any relationship, is to develop this concept of self-sufficiency. In the ashram, where we come from, you know, Swamiji makes sure everything is done by ourselves. It's a very important thing that we need to develop. So we have to set the example and encourage children to develop that self-sufficiency. So higher values, habits, questioning, self-sufficiency. And that will come to our children when they see you doing it. First thing in the morning when you get up, do you make your bed? or just everything is thrown around. If you don't tell them, we are not supposed to tell them, we are supposed to do. Seeing they'll do. We do double fault. Like in tennis, double fault. What is the double fault we do? We don't do, we tell them. What we are supposed to do, Sri Krishna says in the Gita, you do, don't tell them. Don't unsettle the minds of the ignorant. You simply do it and they will follow. You understand? So in this 1 hour, I thought we will discuss these important points from relationship. So in the end now, like I said yesterday, today also I'll give you the takeaway. What are the points we discussed? In right relationship, assessment, love, giving, duty, regulation, then example. Say it loudly. Example. You understand? If you follow all this, what Sri Krishna gives us in the Bhagavad Gita, we can have a wonderful relationship, we can have a wonderful life. Thank you very much.